Baseball brings people together in the Dominican Republic. Round Rock Express first baseman Ronald Guzman grew up in La Vega, Dominican Republic, and he says baseball is a big part of his country's culture.
Oh yeah, baseball in Dominican is huge. You know, everybody plays baseball. You see a lot of kids trying to make it. It's really fun because everybody loves the sport.
But living in the Dominican Republic didn't stop Guzman from thinking about the United States. His greatest baseball hero is American.
When I was little, I was a pitcher, so I love Randy Johnson. You know, yeah. Every time I saw him, I was like, "Oh, I want to be like him when I grow up." You know, he's like tall, lefty guy throwing 100. So that's what I look up to. You know, he's a great. He was Hall of Fame. You know, great player. And I was a pitcher, so I always look up to him.
Express shortstop Luis Marte grew up in San Francisco de Marcoy, Dominican Republic, and he says coming to America is every Dominican baseball player's dream.
All my friends play baseball there in my country. It's like a little bit hard because everybody's the dream, and everybody one day he dream to make a sign with professional team, and I'm so glad to be here. You know?
But President Donald Trump launched an executive order to ban immigration from several countries in order to protect the United States, which directly affects several of the players on the Round Rock Express, including Guzman and Marte. The following Trump quotes come from a PBS broadcast.
We're in the middle of a crisis on our southern border. The unprecedented surge of illegal migrants from Central America is harming both Mexico and the United States, and I believe the steps we will take, starting right now, will improve the safety in both of our countries. It's going to be very, very good for Mexico. A nation without borders is not a nation. Beginning today, the United States of America gets back control of its borders, gets back its borders.
Trump sees the immigration ban as a positive influence in the United States. One of the countries Trump decided to ban immigration from was the Dominican Republic. According to the Adobo articles, as of 2012, it is estimated that 960,000 immigrants from the Dominican Republic resided in the United States, which equals 2% of the total U.S. foreign-born population of 40.8 million. Round Rock Express right fielder Cesar Puello is from La Romana, Dominican Republic, and he tries to keep the ban off of his mind.
You know, I try to control what I can control. I try to keep my head focused on baseball and just, move on to the next step, and the next step will be going to the big league.
And Round Rock Express pitcher Jose Valdespina from Santiago, Dominican Republic, says the rule does not make sense to him.
I don't understand too much the rule to the United States, but he's the president.
Guzman would not speak on the new Trump ruling, but he did say the United States government does things differently than back home in the Dominican Republic.
In the United States, they have more rules here. It's a little bit more organized. You can throw trash in the streets. You gotta be really aware of all that because you can get in trouble here if you do that kind of stuff. Like in Dominican, it's a lot easier. It's freer than here, so he feels that the Cuban is more strict here in the States.
The Texas Rangers organization realized the Dominican Republic and the United States are very different. So they decided to create a cultural education program that gives its foreign players a chance to learn the English language. Rangers Arizona coordinator Stosh Hoover manages the cultural program and hopes to get the foreign players to adapt to a new culture.
For anybody that's traveled to a different country, if you don't know a lot of the language or much about the culture, it can be very intimidating. And that's completely understandable. And the idea is, and the goal is to make these guys as comfortable as possible, because that, I believe, and the organization believes, they'll maximize their efforts on the field. Awesome. It's about building the whole person.
The English classes take place in the Dominican Republic and the Rangers teaching facilities in the United States, which include Surprise, Arizona, Spokane, Washington, and Hickory, North Carolina.
In the Dominican, they go to class 4 days a week. And that's basically all year long, because that complex is open. And whenever that complex is open, those kids have class Monday through Thursday. Here in Arizona, we're 3 days a week with class, and again, there will be kids that outside of class are doing things like Rosetta Stone, like Duolingo, to kind of give a secondary option and something that is auxiliary to the actual class time. In at the affiliates, they'll do them during the homestands, usually about the times of homestand.
However, the classes don't take place in a typical classroom. They're in a large conference room with one big table and 15 chairs circling it. And these English classes are required for all foreign players.
It's mandatory until we felt like they've passed a certain level of comprehension with the language. So basically at these lower levels, it is mandatory for the Latin kids. It certainly never hurts, in my opinion, as a guy who's had to learn a foreign language. The more practice and the more time you can get in a classroom studying and working on it, the better. That certainly helps facilitate use, comprehension, and understanding of the language outside in the real world and on the field.
Teaching the foreign players English is as big of a priority for the Texas Rangers organization as winning. Hoover says communication is one of the biggest keys in success in a team, and if everyone on the team is able to speak English, it makes it easier to communicate.
Anytime you have a chance to, it's different, coming from a different country to another foreign country to work. And I think that to maximize what these kids can do on the field, it's about making them comfortable with how life is going to be, making them comfortable with the language. And it's obvious to see how more comfortable our international players are when they do come over here and they do continue learning and embracing English, and all of that only helps their relationships with their coaches and their teammates, and their ability to just get accustomed to life in a different country.
But developing the foreign players' English isn't the only thing the Rangers hope they gain from the classes. They also want the players to learn how to live in the United States.
The classes aren't just learning English. I think it's important to, while learning English is a major part of the classes, it's also cultural education. It's understanding how to get used to life in the United States. For the kids down in the Dominican, it's understanding what to expect when they do get on that plane and get over here to the States. It's understanding how to travel, the policies in hotels, and understanding how to rent an apartment, and dealing with paychecks and opening bank accounts. And so a lot of that you can teach English through also teaching these cultural lessons and how to get used to life in the States.
But while the Rangers teach the American culture to the foreign players, they still want them to retain their own culture, whether it's continuing to speak Spanish on the field or playing Latin music for their walk-up songs.
I don't want them to change their culture. I don't want them to get away from their culture and their country. It's a matter of just becoming comfortable knowing that every country is different. And we ask the same of our American players, too, to respect and understand that our international players do come from a different culture. Embrace it. Don't be afraid of it. I think that's all just, it's inherently difficult to get on a plane and leave your home and go to a completely different country and work.
At the Rangers facilities in Arizona, the English classes are taught by Brian Miley, who is a professor of languages at Glendale Community College. Miley has been teaching English to foreign baseball players since 2006, when he worked with both the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Miley says there's a huge difference between teaching classes to college students and professional baseball players.
The problem that you have when you're teaching kids whose primary motivation is to become a professional baseball player is that English is not necessarily their number one priority. The kids at the community college or at the college level, they're paying money to be in those classes. They're paying money, they're spending their time, and consequently, they've got a motivation to do well in the English classes. Whereas in the baseball, you get a lot of revelations about the character of the individual.
Miley is in his second year with the Rangers organization and says there's something special about the way Texas runs its team.
And I've found that the Rangers are particularly, I've noted that they have a particularly high quality of character about them. The kids that they recruit, and I don't know about their programs, their international programs, and how they pick these boys up. But I've been very impressed with the kids with the Rangers. They're moral, they're hardworking generally, and there are exceptions to that. And they're a pleasure to work with. Just great kids, and and that has been the case with most of the programs that I've worked with over the last 12 or 13 years. But I have noticed that the quality of the young men in the Rangers program has excelled. It's stood out above what I've experienced in the other years.
What really stands out to Miley is the desire of the Rangers players to learn English. The players aren't just going to these classes because they have to. They really want to develop their skills.
Well, for some of the kids, the improvement is remarkable, and I just love those boys. They come in, they are anxious to learn, but they say, give me more. I want more vocabulary. I want more of this, or I want more of that. And their improvement from the beginning of spring training to the time that they come back here for the instructional league, it's remarkable. I just take my hat off to these kids. And there are those who are shy. They really don't want. They're embarrassed to put themselves out there with English. They think that they think that by making a mistake, it's an embarrassment to them, and it's not. And one of my big jobs is to teach them. The only shame here is not trying. If you mess the English up, don't worry about it. All the other kids are messing it up too, or they wouldn't be in my class.
Round Rock Express shortstop Luis Marte first came to the United States when he was 17, and like Miley said, he was embarrassed to go out in public because he didn't know how to speak English.
I be scared to go out because I don't know the language. I don't see the other people talking oh, look, who is this guy? And I don't understand nothing.
But Marte quickly learned the language after taking Miley's English class in Arizona and in the other Rangers minor league facilities. Miley helps the players learn English outside of the classroom by putting them in real-life situations. One of the tasks he gives his players is to order a pizza for delivery.
For the first time I ordered pizza, I forget. He told me, hey, let's go, you have to do this. I say, no, I'm scared. Do it. You not go to eat tonight. I say, oh, okay, give me the phone. And I do it right. And after that, every day, and kind of like that, and learning more things every single day.
And something as simple as ordering a pizza made Marte ecstatic.
I was so happy. Yeah, I was so happy because my first pizza I ordered them for myself, and he said, "Oh, you got a better." I said, "I don't know, see, I doing right." I said, "You doing right." You see, in 30 minutes later, the pizza comes. I say, "Okay, I'm good now."
That's exactly what you ordered.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just pepperoni and cheese, so you got it right.
Pepperoni and cheese, that's it. And 2 little Coke.
Yeah. Express first baseman Ronald Guzman has been in the Rangers organization since 2011 and is now fluent in English. Some of his foreign teammates try and cheat the system by calling Guzman over to do jobs that require speaking English for them. But Guzman doesn't want to do the everyday task for his teammates. He wants them to learn English too.
I try to help my teammates too. They try to make me do everything for them. They're like, oh, Guzman, they call me on my room. Can you order a pizza for me? I did that for a year, and then I started doing hey man, you're all enough. You gotta get better too. I'm not gonna be here forever. That's something that I help Marte too. I help a lot of guys younger guys that English is really important. I'm really proud of Marte. He's learning a lot.
While Guzman and Marte are grateful to know English so they can communicate in basic everyday activities, they seem to be more excited to have learned enough English to talk trash with their American teammates.
Yeah, we can talk crap back, They always talk crap to us. Oh, you Latino, being funny, but we couldn't say something back, but now we can. So they better be ready.
When they say that, oh, you Latino, and you have to because you know how say something about you, okay, and that's it. You have to lead there.
Yeah, I'm the biggest crap talker on the team right now. I go at it. I try to do my best.
If the American players were forced to go to the Dominican Republic and learn Spanish, Guzman says they wouldn't stand a chance.
I feel like if American guys have to learn English, they will never do it. Yeah, I try to teach Joey Gallo. He know a couple of song sentences. that's all pretty much. That's all he knows, and bad words.
While he loves the trash talk, Marte says he is thankful the organization created a program that allows him to learn English and make him feel home away from home.
It be so hard for me because I never be out to Dominican and to other country, other language, and I don't know pretty well English, I don't know nothing. It be so hard for me, but I have thank God because all the people we here is homie and is the stuff, Yes, it helped me a lot too because I really, really care when I came here to Arizona. I take a class in Dominican too, and I like pay attention a lot, but I don't understand pretty well. But when I came here, like, and here, like next to me, all the people talking English, say, oh shit, I had to learn that, and I take a class every single day. And see, we saying Hickory too, like every one day, and I have to like thank God because I learned a lot.
Not only does the Rangers organization teach the foreign players about the American culture, but Miley also says they've taught him about their culture.
I've had some of those boys have offered to come over to my house and cook some Dominican food for me. I mean, they tell me about the food that they miss and the food that they love, and we have a lady in our neighborhood that's very close friends with my family, and she's from the Dominican Republic, and last year we had her come over to our house and we cooked arroz con pollo, which is their favorite. That's the staple food of the Dominican kids and pretty much all of those kids. But it's they have a special recipe they cook, and I invited those boys over to my house last year, and we had a wonderful Dominican meal and prepared by an actual Dominican for them, and they had an opportunity to meet with my family and to enjoy enjoy a little bit of the American culture and see how a typical American family lives. And then my kids had a chance to talk to them. My daughter had a chance to practice her high school Spanish with some of the kids, and they loved it.
For Miley, teaching the players English is important, but the most important thing is to make sure they never fall back from their roots while adapting to the American culture.
Well, it's important because it's something that you can't leave behind. And for instance, you can't expect these boys to abandon their culture from the Dominican Republic or from Cuba. It's a part of their life. But one of my key responsibilities is to teach these boys how to interact in the American culture and to stay out of trouble. And an example of that, is the respect for one's privacy. In many of the Latin American countries, they play music. They play music loudly, and they're a happy people, and they're a noisy people. And that's not acceptable in an American hotel. You can't be playing your music loudly and disturbing all of the guests down the hall. And so we teach the boys, so you've got to respect the privacy of other people, and they understand that.
Marte says adapting to a new culture presents challenges, but a cultural barrier should never stop anyone from treating each other differently.
When they came here and say, oh, everything got to be easy, everything got to be like, oh, calm down. No, here you have to work more and do more yourself and everything, respect to the people, because you have to like yourself get better and the other people to be proud to you and your family too. For me, like, it's no matter what, where you from, where you came from, for me, like, every person in the whole world is the same for me because we are like human,
Mark Skoll Jr. reporting sports.